losing their mind like I did, or they may get mad at you, you know. So just let them know. It doesn't happen all the time. I would say probably 20 or 30% of the time people will experience noticeable ups and downs. But if you tell them, you're safe, okay? And so I'm telling you right now, any emotions that you've had released today, you may experience echoes of that over the next couple days, and just realize that's part of the program. The next thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about the heart wall. Trapped emotions can sometimes create a wall around the heart. And let me explain to you how this came about. In March of 1998, hard to believe it was 9 years ago, but March of 1998, my wife Jean and I went to Portland. And I was slated to speak at this magnetic conference. And early one morning, the day that I was supposed to speak, she woke me up. Now, she never wakes me up early in the morning. Never. And she woke me up and she said, I've had a dream, and I know that this dream is symbolic. In her dream, she saw an order wheel. You know, like one of those order wheels like you see in restaurants. The waitress takes your order, she clips it on, she spins it around, the cook reads it and makes your lunch or whatever, right? She saw an order wheel. On this order wheel, she saw in her dream 3 orders. And she knew intuitively that each one of these had something to do with her health. But she didn't know what they were. So she wakes me up and I said, okay, fine, you know, I'd like to go back to sleep, but okay, let's test these and see what they are. So through self-testing, I started asking, you know, and testing her, what are these things? And the first one came up was a trapped emotion about something I don't remember that we had missed, and we went ahead and released that. And then we turned our attention to the second order on the wheel, and it was some other health issue that she needed to have addressed that we had somehow overlooked, and we addressed that. And then when we turned our attention to the third wheel, in my mind suddenly, I had basically a waking vision. I saw in my mind, as clearly as I can see you guys, I saw a beautiful hardwood floor. Okay? Beautiful, highly polished, beautiful hardwood floor. But along with this sight, this vision of this floor, came the understanding that somehow her heart, my wife's heart, was underneath the floor. And I thought, what? What is this about? Luckily, I was, you know, half awake, or I would have missed all this probably. You know, I was in sort of a real relaxed alpha kind of a state. And I could see it very clearly, and I knew that her heart was underneath this floor. And so I was thinking, well, you know, what could this possibly mean? Her heart's underneath this floor, I could see it. So I started to test and ask, how thick is this floor? Is it 1 plank thick, or 2, or 3? And it kept going. And pretty soon it was 10 feet thick, and 100 feet thick. And then it was 1,000 feet thick, and I'm still getting yeses that it's thicker than that. And pretty soon I'm at 5,000 feet. And then I start testing in miles. And this is all very strange, you know, very, very strange. But I'm telling you exactly how it occurred. And so then I start testing in miles, and I'm testing 1 mile, 2 mile, 3, 4, 5 miles, and that's where it stopped. So here I am seeing in my mind this beautiful hardwood floor. Her heart is somehow 5 miles down. The floor is 5 miles thick. But what does it mean? And so I started asking questions about this and found out that this wall, this floor, was actually around her heart in a symbolic way. And that the wall itself was actually made of trapped emotions. It was made of trapped emotions. And so we figured out then that that which we call the heart wall is actually a wall that the subconscious mind puts up around the heart to protect the heart from being hurt. You remember that the heart is the core of your being. Okay? And emotions like heartache and heartbreak come from those sensations that you feel when you've been hurt, when someone's been mean to you or abusive to you. When trapped emotions are created, those trapped emotions are made of pure energy. The subconscious mind knows what pure energy is, I think, intuitively some way. And when it needs to protect your heart, it will take those excess energies now that are in your body, and it can actually make something out of them. And in this case, it will actually make a wall that doesn't exist on the same plane of reality that we're used to seeing, but I believe that to the subconscious mind, a wall like this is real to the subconscious mind. Well, here's what we found out. First of all, I knew that Jean had had a difficult childhood. She grew up in a household where she and her brothers and sisters were always walking on eggshells, never knowing when they may be exploded at. And so she learned to bury her feelings. Her heart was... And so she started getting trapped emotions, and this wall got created around her heart. Now, she had always had a difficult time feeling like she was on the inside of any group that she was involved with. She always felt like she was on the outside looking in instead of the inside looking out, right? That was the feeling she had. She had a feeling of isolation, kind of, that had affected her. And she'd always tried to make friends, but she had a difficult time really having good friends because the wall, the heart wall, isolates us, and it prevents our love, which is an energy, from getting out, and it blocks others' love, which is an energy, from getting in, see, literally. Well, it took us a couple of weeks. We asked her body if we could release these emotions. It said we could. We were able to clear one every other day or so. And finally, when the last one was released, she had an immediate change that took place, where she felt now suddenly like she was on the inside of groups instead of on the outside looking in. And it was a subtle but a very powerful change that happened for her. One of the next people that we worked on was a woman who had been in an abusive relationship, in an abusive marriage, for about 22 years. And her family couldn't believe that she could stay in this relationship, and you know, how could she stay in this? Well, part of the reason why she could stay in was because she had a heart wall that blocked her from really feeling what was going on. Her husband was very verbally and mentally abusive. Well, we started testing her. Now, at the beginning, I assumed that, you know, all heart walls are made of wood, right? I mean, in a sense. You see, the subconscious mind is very logical, and it will choose some kind of material for a heart wall to be made out of, because it works in a logical way, and you can't have a wall that's made out of nothing, right? All the energy in the universe and all the energy in the world that we see is used to make something, like a table or a desk or a human or something, right? So the subconscious mind will choose a material for you. Well, this person that we worked on, this woman, I started testing her to see what her heart wall was made out of, and I said no. And I asked, is it harder than wood? Her body said yes. Okay, well, is it some kind of metal? Yes, it was some kind of metal. I'm just, you know, following along. I'm just, you know, asking the questions. And I tried every kind of metal I could think of. Well, is it chrome steel? No. Is it, you know, copper, lead? Every metal I could think of, but it was harder than all of these different kinds of metals. I tried everything, titanium, you know, everything I could think of. And I was getting really exasperated because her body just kept saying, no, no, no. And finally I asked, okay, is this heart wall made of a metal harder than anything that exists on Earth? And her body said, yes. And I thought, well, how in the heck am I going to figure this out? And what is this about? Well, it turned out that at some point in her life, she had seen some old B movie about aliens, right? And in this movie, there was a UFO, and the Army came and they fired bazookas at it. When the smoke cleared, it was still there. And tanks came in and fired their cannons at it. Boom! When the smoke cleared, it was still there. They even fired a nuclear weapon at it, apparently. When the smoke cleared, it was still there. Indestructible. And the scientists, when they were talking in this movie, apparently said, well, this is made out of a metal that's indestructible, harder than anything that we know of. When her subconscious mind, when she was being abused by her husband, and trapped emotions were being formed, her subconscious mind, which is a computer, started sifting through the memory banks, saying, wow, we're in a bad situation here. We have got to protect ourselves. We've got to protect our heart, because we're really going to get hurt here if we don't. What is the hardest thing? And it searched through and it said, oh, look, alien spaceship metal. This is perfect. It's indestructible. Even though it doesn't exist in reality, That doesn't matter. And so her subconscious mind chose that metal. Her heart wall was 7 feet thick, but it was the most indestructible stuff in the universe. Now, the interesting thing about it is she had the most difficult neck to adjust as a chiropractor of anybody that I ever saw. Little gal, 5'2", and I mean, you know, I've adjusted bronc riders and, you know, stuntmen. Her neck was just the worst. I mean, it was incredible. Part of the reason for that was because she had this wall around her that was made of this incredibly difficult metal. Well, we released it. Took us about